Yeah. Well, a lot of your issues that can be hidden on these vehicles, whether it's frame damage or anything like that, when we get these cars in, we do a full inspection on them. And I've covered this on a couple of videos, but just so you kind of know, we get them in, and our primary goal when we're looking at these cars is to check to make sure that they're going to be safe and all the components that are on the vehicles are going to be safe, because most of these cars are 40, 50 years old and older, so they could have had old collision damage. They've been down lots of cow trails. They could have been in the ditch a couple of times. I mean, curbs. There's all kinds of stuff that these cars could have been damaged by, and the repairs on them could be almost as old as the car, and you not even realize it because the damage doesn't look fresh. Well, we got a pretty good idea, and we know these cars good enough, so when we're looking at them, the manufacturers put specific areas on the frames and chassis of these vehicles that are crush zones, or they're areas that they've bent into either a frame or whatever to allow the frame to bend at those areas, okay, under an impact. That was kind of the old technology. They still use some of that technology in the newer vehicles, but the older ones, were a totally different engineering package. So they, put these areas on the car in different places of the structure of the car to absorb an impact when they get hit. And so when we do an inspection on them, some of my primary things that I look for, aside from corrosion, is to see if any of those buckle zones have been disturbed. If any of them are out of a line, if the little buckle that they have formed in them is excessive, or if it's been moved. And if you find one or two that look like have been disturbed, then you really need to start taking some measurements, cross measurements, checking the frame to make sure it's still at factory spec, because it could have been damaged worse, and then back in the day a body shop or whatever, it got put on a frame machine and they pulled it out and got it back within factory spec, but just has those signs still on it, but it could still be in spec. So a lot of those are the things that we have to look at, before somebody starts spending, $100, $150, $200,000 on some of these cars to restore them. We want to make sure that, that the car is worth that level of restoration. If not, a lot of the vehicles that may have removable frames. Some of the Camaros have a subframe assembly, which is just the front portion of the car. Cars like Chevelles and a lot of the trucks, they have full frames. So if we run across one that the frame is damaged bad enough that it's going to cause an issue, then we can source, a replacement frame for it. Some of the applications, they make upgraded, performance, frame assemblies with more late model suspension packages and improved stuff on them to make the cars handle and drive totally different than they used to. Art Morrison is a good example of that. They make some great frames for all the Tri-5s and a lot of the vehicles, the muscle cars and some of the trucks. They make some really nice frame assemblies that are, bad to the bone. But if it's an original, it's no problem. We have quite a few sources that we can usually locate a good untouched, original frame, and then we'll go through and do our reconditioning on it, reinforcing whatever needs to be done. Sandblast them, powder coat them, get them back like brand new from the factory, or better than brand new. So that won't necessarily hinder us from building a project. It just may be one of those things that would add some cost to it. But it's important to find those issues before you start investing a lot of money in one of these classics.
For sure.
Yeah, if we run across what I would consider like catastrophic damage to it that maybe was repaired or patched over or was not done correctly. When we discover these things, we usually will get with the customer, have them come in after we've looked the vehicle over, and then that gives us a chance to actually do kind of a show and tell, go over the vehicle, point out, this and this and why this is like that and this one's this way and, this measurement is off, that measurement is off. I like the customer to understand what it is we're trying to show them and the reason why the issue may or may not be safe. And with that in mind, then it's a matter of, is the budget going to be able to be adjusted to cover the repair of that issue? And if not, if the project appears to be like beyond their budget or what they really want to spend on that project, then we would advise them normally to just sell the vehicle as it is. We won't do any repair to make it sellable or whatever. They're going to have to just sell it just like it is, and maybe find another project that better fits their budget, is better suited for their budget. It doesn't mean that the other one's not repairable. It just means that maybe it's not one that can be repaired within their budget. So there's always a lot of vehicles out there to pick from. Generally, once the vehicle comes in, it'll be a day or so before we can process it and get it into the system before we can, make room and bring it in, get it on a lift and start going over it. We try to get to it as soon as we can, because if it's a project that's not going to be worked on because of what we might find in an inspection, we'd like to do that as soon as possible, so it's not tying up our time, shop space, or wasting the customer's time, we feel like it's a very, very important step before you start any of these projects.